So the plan is to keep you renting so that and not give you a mortgage. Because when you're renting, you can't save for a mortgage. That's the plan. And then they mock and say your generation rent. But actually what they're doing is trying to break your back, destroy your homestead, separate your family, because that's how they hunt human beings. So ultimately, in order for them to implement the New World Order, they need to have a reason to. Like, they can't just come out one day and say, New World Order, let's do that. No. So what they have to do is they have to make it appear as though there's a reason for doing it. The intention is that they implement evil and call it good. But they have to appear as though they've done some good when they brought the New World Order in. So what do they do then? They create the lack so that they can be perceived as having resolved the lack with the New World Order. But the New World Order was the ushering in of the problem, not the solution. But because it came with provision of your basic needs, it would be masked as being a solution when it was actually a far worse system of governance than the one that already exists now, if they were properly implementing it. So it's all strategic misrepresentation of what's occurring. The only reason there's a gap in the housing is because they haven't built the houses. Why haven't they built the houses? Because they created a recession. How did they create the recession? By lending people more than they knew they could pay back. That wasn't difficult. Where did they get the money? Don't the people give them money to the government? Yes, but the banks. Well, where did the banks get their money? They get their money from the people, don't they? Oh, so they were printing it, and they didn't have any gold behind it. So they were printing money that didn't exist, so that they could give you the impression that you're now monetarily enslaved and indebted to them, when you're actually not. Because the Mother Earth, they call her the Earth, Mother Earth. The planet, or the Earth we live in, the creation, the universe, keeps giving. It's not Mother Earth, that's a nonsense, of course. But the Earth that God created gives continually. It doesn't stop giving. And it gives abundantly. It doesn't stop growing. Consider that in the parts that provide in the tropics, in these places that they tell us are so in turmoil, so in military and unrest, and there's civil war there and all sorts of things, like the Congo, one of the most abundant places with different types of ore, like gold ore, etc., etc., and abundant fruit and all this stuff in the tropics. Once an avocado falls from a tree, it's going to make another avocado tree. God created the earth to be abundant, and what they do is they steal your access to this abundance, and then they put you in a concrete jungle somewhere away from it and impoverish you there. That's what they do. And so they continue to sort of set up these impositions and impasses so that people who are renting are under such financial strain that when they start to say, oh, you can get money off here and money off there, people run to it because there's such a squeeze on them. And what does that mean? Well, it means they take the Tesco club card, doesn't it? Because they can get the thing for half price. So they've inclined them towards, by monetarily hindering them and burdening them, taking the club card. They've inclined them towards it. Even though the club card is breaking the law, now they've gotten people to break the law with them, allowing them to continue in that conduct because they're just trying to pay the rent on Friday. And they invent these pressures. They're constantly moving the chips around the board because they know that people will go where the money is when there's a squeeze on them. That's how they manipulate their behaviours. So they have to build in the behaviour that they want to see come to fruition into the areas where they have placed the least path of resistance. So obviously people are going to grab the discount, which means they're going to grab the club card, which means they're going to take hands with those who are breaking the laws of this land, namely Tesco. by offering two different prices to two different people buying the exact same product simply because they don't have a piece of plastic. That's against the law. It's discrimination. That's not the traditional loyalty card method, because you could come in straight in off the road, first time in Tesco's in your life, grab a club card and get things half price. But the man or the woman who's been coming for 10 years, who doesn't have a club card, has to pay more than double what you paid and you're only in the door. Where's the loyalty card mechanism in that? So what they're trying to do is they're trying to get everybody coming to Tesco, trying to get everybody submitting to taking the club card. That's the problem. You see? So if they're trying to get everybody in the door to take the club card, where does that leave your rights? Where does that leave proper pricing schemes and true values on products, and everybody having equal access to services, not being discriminated because they do or don't have this thing or that, to the tune of more than double the price? It's wrong. It's against the law. Tesco Ireland are breaking the law of the land here in Ireland. They're not allowed to do that. They don't care about the law. Well, the people are doing it. That's all they care about, because those who are supposed to be implementing the law don't care about the law. They don't. If you look at Stephen Tallon versus the DPP on courts.ie now, this case in the High Court supposed to be sitting on the 12th of November, an unlawful and illegal appeal that was applied for a month and 4 days late, when the High Court themselves failed to actually test the constitutionality of 115 and 117 of the Criminal Justice Act 2006, and giving no reason for so doing, failed in their office as judge, as barrister at law, as High Court, when something was brought to their attention, and that something was the testing of the constitutionality of section 115 and 117, which would have seen all the other listings of the court that day naturally quashed, all the other convictions, alleged convictions, because it was under review. And so they were all quashed, but they didn't test the most pressing listing on the schedule, which was the testing of the constitutionality of section 115 and 117. They gave no good reason for abandoning the testing of it. And if they had have tested it and found it unconstitutional, which they must have if they tested it, and that's why they didn't test it, it would have naturally quashed all the convictions anyway, never to be appealed. So that would have meant that they couldn't appeal the decision of the High Court. What makes the state think that they know better than the High Court judge and the barristers at law? If you ask a member of An Garda Síochána on the street, do you have jurisdiction in civil matters, he'll tell you straight up, no. That's been my experience. But of late, they've been ignoring me when I ask them. Then they won't come near me. And now they won't come near me when I'm preaching. And before, they were harassing me. They won't answer my question about whether they have jurisdiction in civil matters or not. Once they became aware that I was actually telling them the truth about Gardaí not having any jurisdiction in civil matters, they'll tell you that themselves. They're taught that in Templemore, which is the training facility for members of An Garda Síochána. So if they're taught that in Templemore, why is there a legislator, a politician, who's not a lawyer, legislating for members of An Garda Síochána to have jurisdiction in civil matters when they never can and never have had? Just taking it upon themselves to write up some legislations that say a guard can pick and choose who's going to give a cease and desist order to, even though he wasn't there. It's all on the basis of hearsay and a complaint that was made. Now he's telling people they have to stop. He's actually saying, I know you're not breaking the law, but you must stop what you're doing, or else I'll give you 3 more of those and then I can summon you to civil court. Guard, you can't summon me anywhere near a civil court. You've no jurisdiction there. You can never summons anyone to a civil court when you've that uniform on. So it's ridiculous. The adult behaviour warning thing is a breach of the laws of this land. It's an unconstitutional legislature. It can't remain, and they're running away from testing it, even though the High Court know that it's a very pressing issue, that they need to test the sections of that Constitution. Now they're telling me that because I didn't respond in a timely fashion, even though they didn't notify me of the deadline to respond, that the appeal will go unopposed. Now there's an unopposed appeal in the High Court when the High Court didn't even complete the schedule that was before them. That's corruption. True and true. That is rotten corruption. And there's nothing else for it. Now the High Court are really crossing the line. They're accepting appeals late, a month and 4 days late, even though they didn't even finish the schedule of the day. Now they're saying, even though the courts didn't contact me to let me know the final day to contact the opposition, those who are appealing, that the appeal will go unopposed. How can you have an unopposed appeal in the High Court on such an important matter? An unopposed appeal. So who's going to defend my position? Nobody. Because you applied late. I applied late and you didn't make me aware of anything. You didn't tell me you have to apply by this time. I applied late. By how many days? And you notify the solicitors that have told you they've been dismissed to communicate something to me? The court can't communicate to anybody on my behalf. I have confidentiality. If I've dismissed a solicitor, the court can't continue in communication about the case with them. They're not entitled to do that. The court can't tell them anything. The state can't tell them anything. They no longer have any involvement in the case. But they're not trying to contact the law firm that I've dismissed. They're not trying to contact me directly. They're contacting my sister. Tell him. Forward this to him. I've dismissed them, and they've notified the court that I've dismissed them. They're like unruly children up there. It's worse. It could only be demonic. It's absolutely doolally what they're doing up there in that High Court. We'll accept a month and 4 days late, we'll accept an appeal, but you can't even contact the other side. Sure, it's not till the 12th of December, and they're telling me the appeal's going to go unopposed. Sure, it's another 2 weeks away, and they're telling me it's going to go unopposed. It doesn't work like that. They can't drag this one through the courts. It's absolutely a mockery of our system, a mockery of our High Court, a mockery of the Bar, the Law Society, and the laws of this land, and the Constitution of the state. Let them be rebuked in Jesus' name. Let the demons go out of operation there, because the devil is rife in that. Let him be displaced and removed. Let him go out by the power of the blood of Yeshua. In Jesus' name. It shall not pass.